Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today I've got a first impressions video. It's not on this knife, but I wanted to use this as an introduction. This is a fantastic knife. I love this knife. It's one of my all-time favorite knives in existence. It's certainly my favorite cold steel, and it's one I highly, highly recommend. But I also understand that not everyone can buy a $190 knife. And these, every once in a while you'll find a deal on a cold steel 8010, but they're getting harder to come by at a really good price. When they first came out, they were phenomenal, but yeah, they're a little steep. So if you're saying to me, Kevin, I'm sure the 8010 is fantastic, but can you give me a cheaper option that's equally useful, equally reliable, equally awesome? Well, I can almost get there. This is the Cold Steel Voyager drop point. Now I've reviewed the Voyager in a couple of other configurations on the channel. I had the clip point, I had a large Tanto. Both were quite good, but when they came out with the new blade shape and they're doing these in AUS 10 steel these days, I felt like it was worth readdressing the Cold Steel Voyager. In the previous reviews, I was quite positive, right? I really like the Voyager. It has a lot to recommend it. There is one issue that is consistently a problem that we'll bring up, and there are some solutions to this, but let's begin with a quick rundown on the knife itself, the features, the materials, all that kind of stuff. So up front, we have a stonewashed AUS 10 blade with a very high flat grind. You can see it's not quite a full flat grind, but boy, it's close. Really nice drop point shape, and I do like this drop point design. Some nice jimping down the spine. Of course, deployment is by thumb stud. This is a cold steel with a triad lock, so most of us are pretty familiar with that. The pivot is phosphor bronze and Teflon, again, like many cold steels. And then finally, moving down here to the handle, we have this heavily textured FRN handle, full backspacer, triad lock, nested aluminum liners, and a typical cold steel clip. Now, in terms of construction here, you can see, they have gone with the FRN, which is going to make this a little cheaper and a little lighter, which, by the way, being a little lighter is not a bad thing at all. This is still a knife that feels very solid, very confidence-inspiring in hand, but it doesn't weigh a huge amount. It's right around 5 ounces. But while we're touching on the materials, let me say this before I get into size and weight. The FRN is well done, and again, I've said this before, there are a couple knives out there. A lot of times I really dislike FRN because it feels cheap and kind of chintzy, but not so on this knife, not so on the Mini Recon. And recently I had the SOG Seal XR, and the FRN on there was pretty well done as well. I'd still like to see a nice material on the SOG, but anyway, that's besides the point of this video. Now, the one issue that I've talked about in every video where I talked about the Voyager is the pocket clip. And so let me just show you here. When you combine a very stiff cold steel clip with this really aggressive texturing, look, it is really difficult. Oh my goodness. You see the problem I'm having just getting a piece of paper under there. So I do the little fingernail lift, and that does work, but that is very aggressive, okay? And going in and out of your pocket, it's going to be a problem. Now, there are a couple of options that you can do here. Nut and Fancy famously has the JB Weld mod. You can very carefully, very gently just tweak this pocket clip. If you break it, don't blame me. I've bent a number of cold steel clips and I haven't broken any, but there's always a slight risk of breaking the clip. If you want to make sure you don't avoid that, the other options are possibly better. Nut and Fancy does the epoxy thing. You can take this off and just take some sandpaper to this area of the knife. That's the one I recommend the most. It's the least intrusive. It's the easiest. It's the hardest to screw up. Okay, so a nice safe bet, pop this off, take some sandpaper to this, get it nice and smooth, and then it'll go in and out of pocket a little bit easier for you. You may need to, I'm moving my background around here, you may need to do more than one of those. You may need to smooth that out with, the epoxy or the sandpaper or whatever, and still then bend that clip just a little bit because it's a very, very stiff clip. It is reversible, not that clip. A second clip comes in the box. Okay. But apart from that one complaint, this is a phenomenal knife. It's big, 9¼ inches, 4-inch blade, 5.5 inches closed. Okay. 5.5 inches. Catch that. This is a big knife, takes up a lot of room in pocket, 3¾ inches of grip area. Okay. And it's a very deep, positive grip. I mean, you grab a hold of this thing and it grabs you right back. Okay. I do like the fact that there's this big area here, sort of similar to what happens on the Recon 1 or even the Rat Model 1, where it's not really a choil, but it can certainly serve that function and allow you to choke up a little bit. And of course, the best thing about this, by the way, it does only weigh 5 ounces. So that's pretty nice for a knife of this size and this level of durability. And the AUS 10 steel is a really, really nice upgrade. If you want a really great budget-friendly EDC plus, and by EDC plus, I mean something you could carry around with you every day, but can also flex into, outdoor use, survival use, tactical use, any kind of hard use you can think of. This is a phenomenal option. It really, really is. I think these guys go for around $60, and you could save yourself a little bit more if you use my discount code SHARPSTUFF over at White Mountain Knives. I can't tell you for sure if Justin has any of these in stock in particular, but he does have some Voyagers, or at least he did last time I was on the channel. This is probably going to post a couple of days from now, so it's probably been 4 or 5 days since I checked. But anyway, when I checked, there were some Voyagers available, and it really is a great knife, and it's one that gets overlooked a lot. Whenever I think of cold steel and my favorite cold steels to recommend, I often think of the American Lawman and the Recon 1, but I should give more love to the Voyager because these are really, really good knives. They're tough as nails. They're not too expensive, and can be a really, really great option, especially if you're not into, dropping down that $190 for something a little more substantial. Really, and this is not, I wouldn't say one of these is tougher than the other, just a little more refined, I guess, would be the proper way to express that. So yeah, great knife. I know a lot of you guys already have these knives, but if you're new to the knife world and you haven't checked out a Cold Steel Voyager yet, you really, really should. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to use those channel sponsors. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will talk to you soon.